They mocked Earth's wild beasts until one tiny predator stepped into the arena, fearless, unbreakable, and it silenced the entire galaxy. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council shimmered under the glow of twin suns, its crystalline ceiling refracting the light into a kaleidoscope of alien hues. Representatives from over 80 star systems floated, stood, or slithered in their designated spheres, each exuding the smug composure of species long accustomed to dominance. In the center, the elder chair of the council, a serpentine being of telepathic elegance named Valzareth, coiled tighter around the dais and called the gathering to order. Today, Valzareth announced telepathically, we review the fauna of our newest probationary member, Earth. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Earth. The small, blue planet on the edge of the Orion Arm backwater. Primitive. Its inhabitants had barely achieved interstellar travel a generation ago, and yet, through political maneuvering and a surprising show of scientific ingenuity, they now held a tentative seat at the table. A hologram flickered to life above the dais. Standing at its base was Dr. Elena Rios, the human representative, flanked by a neutral AI assistant named Corvus 9. She wore a calm, courteous smile, though anyone observing closely would see the tightness in her jaw. She had been warned this session would be more spectacle than science. Honored delegates, Elena began, her voice amplified and translated into hundreds of tongues. We have compiled a brief presentation of Earth's top terrestrial predators. While our species has largely dominated our planet, our fellow fauna have evolved remarkable survival capabilities. A chuckle, low and resonant, came from the Kari Cluster delegation, a race of scaled brutes evolved from deep ocean hunters. Let me guess, one of them growled. The lion? The bear? Creatures that rely on claws and volume, nothing more. Elena smiled thinly and activated the first segment. The hologram shifted to show a lion stalking the African savanna, then a grizzly rearing to full height, followed by a great white shark breaching the ocean's surface in pursuit of a seal. The chamber's reaction was mixed. A few showed mild interest. Others guffawed openly. Your predators are loud, said a gelatinous member of the Korvax, whose own species hunted by psychic suggestion and silent paralysis. So primitive. They depend on bulk and aggression, no subtlety. A representative of the Valnari hive clicked its mandibles. Such inefficient energy usage. If they were insects, they'd be extinct in a cycle. Elena had expected this. She had brought out the obvious players first. The ones the council would recognize and dismiss. The real performance was about to begin. A younger alien, thin and vine-limbed with reflective skin, leaned forward. Ambassador Resh of the Andarii. Known for their obsession with evolution and adaptation. Dr. Rios, Resh said with genuine curiosity, do any of Earth's predators excel in disproportionate threat? Creatures whose size belies their lethality. The chamber stilled slightly. This was not mocking. This was scientific inquiry. Elena exchanged a glance with Corvus 9, who tilted its digital head in encouragement. Yes, she said. There is one. Though it's not large. Not particularly fast. Nor venomous in the way many of you would define. But it is, by all our accounts, utterly fearless. Nearly unkillable. We call it the honey badger. There was a beat of silence. Then laughter exploded through the chamber. Honey? One delegate wheezed in translation. You named it after sugar? Elena let them laugh. Then she spoke again, quiet but firm. Would you like to see it in action? With a subtle gesture, she triggered the next sequence. The lights dimmed. A new projection appeared, a scrubland in southern Africa. The camera zoomed in on a squat, muscular mammal with coarse fur and an almost comically blunt face. It was digging furiously into a termite mound. Several delegates began whispering. The thing looked harmless. And then it wasn't. The video cut to a scene of the badger confronting a puff adder. The snake struck, fangs sinking into the mammal's face. The badger writhed, collapsed and then, to the council's visible confusion, got up again minutes later. Not only did it recover, it ate the snake. Gasps echoed across the tiers. Next came a clip of the honey badger fending off a group of lions. It snarled, lunged, and bit one squarely on the nose. The lion recoiled with a yelp. Another tried to pin the badger, only to be clawed and bitten viciously. The lions gave up. The badger trotted off, triumphant. Corvus 9 provided commentary. Malivra capensis exhibits extraordinary pain tolerance, regenerative capability, and near-total immunity to many neurotoxins. Its aggressive behavior has no clear biological fear governor. A pair of robotic eyes widened in shock. It doesn't retreat? Never, Elena said. It has no understanding of fear as you define it. It assumes any creature it meets can be killed, eventually. Resha's eyes gleamed. It's a predator that believes it's the apex, even when it's clearly not. That's unsettling. You might say it's delusional, snorted the Volnari drone. You might say it's victorious, Elena replied. Valzareth uncoiled slightly, addressing the human. Your point, Ambassador Rios? Elena's voice didn't waver. Our fauna evolved in isolation, yes. But the traits they developed, unyielding tenacity, resistance to pain, disregard for odds, those are the traits we, too, inherited. You mean to compare your civilization, sneered a psychic being from the Sarin spiral, to this beast? I mean to remind you, Elena said slowly, that while you all learned to dominate through power, precision, or intellect, we learned by surviving. Again and again. Even when we shouldn't have. Silence spread like a fog. Valzareth flicked its tail thoughtfully. Very well. The Council sees value in testing your claim. We will permit a biological simulation. Let your honeyed predator face some of ours in a controlled dome. A spike of tension radiated through the chamber. You're serious? Asked one delegate aghast. The Earth creature has challenged our assumptions. Let us see if its legacy holds in our arenas. Elena inclined her head, outwardly composed. Inside, her heart thundered. This was it. Humanity's moment, not of dominance, but of respect. We'll prepare the specimen, she said. Just remember one thing. Valzareth paused. And what's that? Elena's eyes burned with a quiet fire. Don't turn your back on it. The arena was silent, save for the hum of containment fields and the low, pulsating light of observation drones. Council delegates filled the grand spectating gallery above, their varied physiologies packed tightly around viewing stations and data feed. The testing dome, 80 meters wide, shaped like a perfect geosphere, replicated a cross-biome environment, complete with scrubland, rocky terrain, and artificial dens. It was built for creatures larger than the one now resting in its center. The honey badger stood calmly atop a cracked ridge, sniffing the artificial wind. It looked almost bored. A few delegates murmured in disappointment. That's it? Scoffed one of the Varnic generals, whose species bred war beasts the size of transports. This creature wouldn't last 10 seconds against a KYRR wolf. Another delegate, an elegant avian from the Erari conclave, leaned closer to her monitor. It's so casual. As if it doesn't care where it is. In a shadowed gallery bay, Dr. Elena Rios stood with her arms crossed, expression unreadable. Corvus 9 hovered beside her. You understand, it whispered, that this could backfire. If it's killed quickly, the Council will see Earth as not only primitive, but delusional. They already think that, Elena murmured. Let's show them something worse. A low tone rippled through the dome. Challenge initiated. The first opponent slithered into view. The Drachnos, a reptilian predator engineered by the Creel Confederacy. Acid sacs lined its jaw. Its scales were layered with reactive shielding. It hissed as it moved, spreading a ruff of spines to appear larger than it was. An apex predator by galactic standard. The honey badger didn't run. It turned slowly, nose twitching, body low to the ground. The Drachnos attacked first, spraying a burst of acidic mist across the ridge. The audience leaned in. The mist hit. The badger screamed, more out of rage than pain, then rolled, shook itself, and charged through the fog, foam clinging to its fur. It struck with ferocity that defied its size. Teeth sank into the Drachnos' neck between scale gaps. The reptile thrashed, claws digging trenches in the dirt. Acid flowed, sizzling the badger's back, but it held on, twisting violently. A snap. The Drachnos collapsed in a convulsion of broken vertebrae. The badger staggered back, parts of its fur burned and patchy, but very much alive. It spat out a chunk of meat and began licking its wounds. Above, the gallery had gone eerily quiet. A monitor streamed physiological data. A delegate whispered, "It should be in shock. That much pain." Corvus, 9 replied calmly, "Malivra capensis lacks the cortical pathways for sustained fear. Its pain response is limited, its dopamine surge is reward-driven. It feels agony. It keeps moving anyway." Valzareth watched with an expressionless face, the coils of its form tightening. "Proceed to Phase 2. The floor shifted. A crystalline gate slid open, and the second contender emerged. The Harn. It was graceful, long-limbed, sinuous, shimmering with translucent skin that refracted light into unsettling patterns. It moved silently, its eyes glowing with internal luminescence. The Harn fed on neural collapse. Its method wasn't claws or teeth. It induced terror, paralyzing lesser minds with psychic suggestion, drawing prey into stasis, and feeding on their fear until death. The chamber darkened. A silent hum began, almost inaudible, more felt than heard. The badger froze. From the observation room, Elena stiffened. "They're pushing it too far. If it doesn't have psychic defenses." Corvus, 9 answered her fear before she could finish. "There is no defense. Only resistance." In the dome, the Harn began its dance. Lights shimmered from its skin, rippling in hypnotic patterns. The psychic wave built like pressure in a storm cloud, cascading over the badger. The mammal shuddered, growled, and blinked. For a moment it swayed in place. Its muscles tensed. Blood dripped from its previously burned flank. And then it moved. It charged. The Harn's illusion shattered. It shrieked, a sound no physical creature had ever heard, more out of disbelief than fear. The honey badger was immune to its greatest weapon. They collided. The Harn leapt to dodge, slashing with claws, slicing flesh, but the badger twisted midair, clamped onto its thigh, and bit down so hard light flashed from the wound. Its teeth pierced the Harn's luminous skin, drawing strange, glowing fluid. The creature screamed. The badger didn't let go. Not when the psychic pulse intensified. Not when the Harn clawed at its face. Not when its own body trembled from exhaustion. It kept biting, tearing, ripping. Seconds later, the Harn collapsed in a pool of twitching light, its nervous system fried from feedback. The honey badger dragged itself away from the corpse, limping, half-blind in one eye, but victorious. For the first time in living memory, the Galactic Council held its breath. "I don't believe it," whispered Resh the Andarii. "It's not just fearless. It's impervious." "No," Elena replied, stepping into the hollow spotlight. "It feels everything. It just doesn't care. Not enough to stop." Valzareth studied her. "Is this how all Earth creatures behave?" Elena shrugged. "Not all. But some. And those that survive long enough tend to pass on a very specific attitude." Another delegate, from the weapon-forging Draken Union, clicked a talon on its console. "You said before that this badger is merely an example, not the pinnacle." "It's not even close," Elena said. "It's a footnote in our ecosystem. A scavenger with anger issues." The chamber erupted again, but this time not in laughter. Fear. Curiosity. Respect. Valzareth turned toward the floor. "Release final test parameters. Full apex array. Let it face what we consider unbeatable." Elena's heart dropped. "What are you doing?" "We are testing the limits of your legacy." The arena transformed again. Mechanical plates shifted. The ground grew jagged. 3 doors opened. From one emerged a screal panther, bioengineered for assassination, its muscles coiled like braided metal, moving in silence. From another, a serpentine war beast of the Selvari, capable of spitting corrosive clouds that could strip steel. And from the last, an arachnid nightmare from the Creel broods, a 3-meter-high tower of legs, claws, and bioplasmic weaponry. The honey badger stood in the center of it all. It didn't run. It didn't hide. It bared its teeth. 3 apex predators charged. The panther was first, leaping with deadly silence. The badger ducked under the strike and bit into its foreleg, breaking the joint with a crunch. The panther screamed and limped away, only to be struck by a misfired acid glob from the serpent. The battle descended into chaos. The arachnid lashed out, pinning the badger under a claw. The audience leaned forward. And then the claw twitched. The badger had latched onto its nerve tendon and was chewing through it. The serpent struck. Acid drenched the honey badger. It collapsed. Smoke rose from its back. And then it stood up. Not cleanly. Not with grace. But with rage. It turned, leapt, latched onto the serpent's head and tore at its eye socket. The panther limped in to try again, only to be headbutted by the now bleeding badger, who twisted mid-roll and tore its throat open. The arena floor turned red, then purple, then orange, depending on the blood of each species. Minutes passed. Then silence. The honey badger stood alone, covered in wounds, fur matted, one leg dragging slightly, but alive.